And kick your relatives. You got relatives on the board, throw them under the bus. You got sons, daughters on the board, throw them under the bus. You got sons, daughters, employees, throw them under the bus. If you even know them by accident because you met them at a wedding, throw them under the bus. Because familiarity breeds contempt. You're just numbers to me. I could put a cap in your ass and I won't lose an iota of sleep. Super rich, you not overspoil, but spoil inadvertently. When your kids go to school in limousines and fly around in planes and shit, it changes them. No matter how strict I was. I was strict. Not as strict as my dad, but I was pretty fucking strict. The kids used to want Jimmy, my driver, to drop them off 6 or 8 blocks away from schools that went to. Because they were embarrassed. We had the longest limo in Texas. If you Google longest limo in Texas, it was ours. It had 3 bars because I didn't want anybody to have to stretch too much to make a drink. But it's a different world. They had governesses and nannies and all kinds of shit that just regular folk don't have. Now the backward bicycle, we used to have the bike here. Not one person even came remotely close to riding the bike. We had a kid that his dad came back for 3 seminars and he came and he rode the bike the 3rd time. He was about 9 years old. But that's what we're doing. We're rewiring you cognitively. And it's just as hard as riding the backward bicycle. So when some of you, when most of you aren't going to get it, and when you realize that the model is built on repetition, Pavlov's dog. Pavlov was a psychiatrist that if you give him shock treatment, which is cool, you can get people to learn quicker because pain and fear work. It's a shitty way to run a railroad, but pain and fear still work. And that's this system is based on repetition and Pavlov's theory. It's like when a kid, I know they have covers to put over plugs in the wall now so the kids don't put their fingers and their tongue in the plug in the wall, electric plug. But I put my tongue in the plug and I never did it again. I can still remember when I did. I was about 4 years old. It's the only thing I remember in my 4th year is putting my tongue in a plug. And certain things just work. And the chairman is the most important part of the model. And when you have successfully recruited your chairman, and we go through this in detail, but so you understand the building blocks. Chairman's first. By the time you get a chairman, you've probably given, assuming your mediocre skills that you've got, you've probably given between 5 and 10 presentations to get a chairman. So the first 2 or 3, you step on your dick, you don't know what you're talking about. When they ask you, where's the equity coming from? You go, you know. So 5 or 10. Then by the time, and assuming you're not going to be the CEO, because most of you in this room shouldn't be CEO. Okay? And then you go to the CEO, and it's going to take you 5 or 10 again. So now you've got arguably 20 presentations under your belt. Then you go to the CFO. That's another 20. You got 30 presentations under a belt. By the time you finish and you've recruited a world-class CFO, you've got 30 presentations under your belt. Now, the good news for you is because of Corona, you're able to do the motherfucking presentations via Zoom and Skype, etc. I don't like that. But everybody does it. We have kids that have been through the seminar since you were here in March that have bought companies without meeting the banker and without looking at the asset they purchased. And the bank loaned to them without seeing the asset they purchased. Now, those loans are going to come back and blow up. Not 100% of them, but a whole big portion of them. I predicted, that their underwriting insurance aren't going to cover those blown up loans that blew up because the bank never went to look at them. So the model is shortened in time, but what's gotten tougher is to get the right asset without looking at it. So I tell you, go look at it. When we get to that, I wouldn't buy anything that I didn't see, touch. It's like I would never buy a girl on the internet to marry that I never saw. That's bullshit. But I know guys that do. I know a guy who's got a Russian wife. She must be married 15, 18 years now. They got 4 lovely kids. Ostensibly, she doesn't cheat on him. I don't believe that. He's a fat, ugly fuck. Fat, ugly fuck. Another word I used to describe him with. Anyway, fat, ugly fuck. And his wife looks like Mrs. America. So right, there's a disconnect, a big disconnect. Most of you, under the influence of alcohol, knowing that the guy would still take a pass at his wife. He's hot. I mean, super hot. Well, he says it can't work out, Danny. If you want to believe that, John, that's fine. God bless you. You're happy, right? She fucks you regular, right? Okay, be happy. But you gotta, so the process is now where it used to take, the record for a deal used to be 90 days, and then it was 73 days, and now it's 26 days, and now it's 7 days. He had an old guy. The guy that broke the record for the 73 days did a deal in 9 days, but it was his 11th or 12th deal. So, I mean, it's not, but out of the blocks, first deal, 26 days now. And it's the guy I talked about on YouTube, the pig fucker, the Irish pig fucker, which we're going to see here in a minute. So now you've got your CFO, and you've given a bunch of presentations. So now you're looking for industry experts, you're looking for an in-house lawyer, and you're looking for an in-house accountant, which is separate from your CFO. So now you've made between 60, 70, and 120 presentations. So now you're smooth as baby shit. Even the guys that have no, and the gals that have no communication skills. Because you've done it a bunch of times. Anders didn't tell the story. He tells it, now you're going to see him out of sequence. His first webinar, he talks about 20 banks before he got a bank to say yes. And there's something about the 20 mark. Now, there's been a lot of studies done in sales that it takes 17 presentations for an average salesman to get it right. 17. So let's just assume you're average, which you're not. You're worse than average. It's going to take you about 20. So now by the time you've done your board, you've got a whole bunch of presentations. So that by the time you get to your accountants, you start at the 50th or 80th largest accounting firm, and you work your way up. We had a guy from Sacramento. He was a lettuce farmer. He was the first non-illegal member of the family. Because if you're born in the United States, you become legal. And he started in Tonopah, Nevada, was his first bank presentation. Accounting presentation. Well, Tonopah, Nevada to Sacramento is about 350 miles. Because he didn't want to piss where he ate. So he fucked around and made big mistakes with all the banks, all the accounting firms, and all the law firms before he got down to Sacramento. And by the time you have your accountant, and you then get to the lawyer, and the lawyers are ostensibly the hardest to recruit. Because they've heard this shit before. And they don't believe anything you say. And they won't believe you for sure. And the question that everybody's going to ask the same question. Where's the fucking equity coming from? And you melt. You're just going to fade away. We have guys that tattoo that answer. I'm not going to give you right now. Tattooed on their fucking forearm. Because they don't believe it either. But that is the question your chairman's going to ask, the CEO is going to ask, CFO is going to ask, industry expert is going to ask, the in-house lawyer is going to ask, in-house accountant is going to ask, the accounting firm and the law firm and the bank. So by the time you get to the bank, you little nerd shit, you've said it like 250 times, but you still don't believe it. So maybe you'll get it tattooed on your arm. But he's got to roll up his sleeve. He says, in the meeting, I'm rolling up my sleeve. Well, why don't you just tattoo it on the inside of your hand? We've got guys that do that too. That's how cognitively your brains are fried to give them the wrong answer, because that's all you've heard your whole life. the wrong answer. Just like, are you cheating on me? Hell no. That's in my mind. That's burned in my brain. Hell no. Why would you think so? But now it's a building block process. And the sooner you get to the banks, you will be, notwithstanding, you don't have to see them in person anymore, because before there was normally 3 to 5 phone calls in the old system when you were using shoe leather. In other words, you were actually going to see the bankers, going to see the accountant, going to see the lawyers, going to see and meet with the various members of the board. Shoe leather. You wore out literally shoe leather. Now that's all shrunk down. Now you can get a board, put it together, soup to nuts in a couple weeks. And that's if you really fuck it up. And we're going to show you some guys that fucked it up. Yep. I know you got a pair, but use the mic anyway because it won't get recorded right.
Mr. Pena, is there always a need to get the whole board, the CFO, the CEO?
Yep. I mean, you're the third person that's asked me, and the 3 people that have asked me aren't going to make it. I've been doing this a long time. And kick your relatives. You got relatives on the board, throw them under the bus. You got sons, daughters on the board, throw them under the bus. You got sons, daughters, employees, throw them under the bus. If you even know them by accident because you met them at a wedding, throw them under the bus. Because familiarity breeds contempt. You're just numbers to me. I can put a cap in your ass and I won't lose an iota of sleep. And the guys that are the most successful up there, including this little Nazi that just left, that's as friendly as he gets. I actually saw him smile. I told you last night, the most time we ever spent together was the last 2 days he was here. Had dinner, had a few drinks. I didn't even know he drank. Probably does drugs. I don't know. But that's as friendly as I'm ever going to be with him. Andres, Mr. Pena. I know guys in Germany, I've known him 25 years. I'm still Mr. Pena. Herr Professor Pena, actually. So now, you will have it so it's slam dunk, or as our daughter said, easy peasy. And the reason why you want to do the chairman first is because you leverage off of him or her, or it. We've got a couple of it chairmen that had the operations and that kind of shit. We've got a couple of hits. You will leverage off that person or that entity to get the next person. Then you leverage off those 2 people to get the third and the fourth. And by the time you get down to the accountants and they see all these, and you don't want to have to explain about them. You don't have to. My first chairman, and the reason why I had 82%, my chairman had 18%. My first chairman was former Secretary of Defense under Eisenhower, Bob Anderson. He just opened, and then I got all the rest of there was 2 Bob Andersons in those days. One Bob O and Bob A. One Bob was the chairman of Atlantic Richfield, which was an oil company in the old days, and the other one was former Secretary of Defense, right-hand man to President Eisenhower. And is he the Ike Anderson, or is he the Atlantic Richfield Anderson? I know he's the Ike. I'm on. The interview lasted 10 minutes, 5 minutes, not even 5 minutes, because he was considered a rainmaker back in the 70s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. And so and you will leverage off, and by the time you get down to your accounting firm, let's say you've got a former Ernst & Young partner for healthcare partner for the United States, and then you're calling Ernst & Young in Miami, and you want to do deals in the southeast of the United States. And I say, I see you got such and such a guy on the board. We're on. We're in. That's the end of the interview. We're in. And when you do the interview, and we're going to show you how to go through the interviewing process, what the first words you went out of the chairman's mouth sounds very interesting. If I can add value, subject to conflicts, I'm in. And then you shut the fuck up. Thank you very much, sir. And we'll go through all this, your resume, your CV, and LinkedIn appropriate for executive summary? He'll either say yes or it'll say yes or no. Is the picture in LinkedIn appropriate? No, I have a better picture, because most of the guys, old guys like me, have their bar mitzvah picture, or when they were baptized, when they were 8 years old. And then you're off and running. It's easy peasy. It's easy peasy. Okay, any questions or comments about Andreas? He's just a regular guy. And his, come December, he'll be worth about 35 million. He's worth about 20 now. 35 million euros. He just quit his full-time job it's about 10 months ago now. And he just had another kid. God bless him. And I told somebody here, when you start doing deals, your wife that has been barren 15 years, all of a sudden gets pregnant. We've got a whole shit pot of guys that are too old to be a father again. I know this sounds awful. When the woman is in her late 40s, early 50s, she's way past it. As one 53-year-old, a couple seminars ago, if you think I want a kid hanging on my tit at 55, you're nuts. I never thought of it that way, but if you put it in perspective, I guess she's right. QLA is a conundrum wrapped in a quandary, wrapped in an enigma. Why? Because unless you had Steffi Graf and Andrew Agassi as parents, both world-class Olympians, Grand Slam champion tennis players, right? Unless you had parents like that, you were not trained to be a high-performance person. You have no training. High performance meaning world-class. World-class. And you weren't. And i.e. the questions I still get. I still get the questions. And magnify those questions by 1,000 times the questions they're going to put in front of you when you start the process. The first of which is a world-class chairman you don't have to explain about. You want somebody that name recognition in the industry you're going in. The healthcare chairman won't be necessarily the same guy as the construction chairman. But you want instant name recognition. If you want to be happy, have a set of goals that commands your thoughts, liberates your energy, and inspires your hopes. Now, he is my virtual mentor, and I spent my 75th birthday at his castle, Skibo Castle, which is up the road about 200 miles. And we're going to study him at night. I guess tomorrow night, maybe it's tonight. But guys like him and Steve Jobs, who I had the privilege of working with back in the 80s, and I've never worked with Zuckerberg, Gates, etc. They all have the same thing in common, which almost all of you suffer from. You're introverts. 98% of the high-performance people on the planet are introverts. Introverts. 2% are extroverts, and 2% of that 2% are alphas. You don't have to be an alpha male or alpha female. What is an alpha female called? Just alpha, I guess. You don't have to be alpha anything to make this. What'd you say? Yeah, that's good, yeah. You don't have to be aggressive to make this program work. On that happy note, goodbye, YouTube.